Hello, everyone. I am Jim Elizondo from Real World Ranchers. I hope you have a good time today, and we're going to start just in a few minutes with our Facebook Live today that will be about how to have more animals in good body condition without extra inputs. Why am I so passionate about having more productive animals without spending much more money? Because the more animals in good production that you maintain per ranch or farm at a low cost will determine your profitability and the speed at which you are regenerating your land. So that's why I love this. Okay, now let's start. And my focus is on helping ranchers and farmers regenerate their land the fastest while reaching maximum profitability. I have been doing this for a long time now, both in with my clients and in my own ranch. I have had my ranch since 1991 and it's in Mexico in the tropics, and I had to find a way to make it profitable because I am an agronomy engineer by trade, but I soon learned after buying my first ranch that applying conventional ways will take me under duress, losing money, and at the same time was impoverishing my soils. So I had to find new ways and better ways, which I knew was doable. And the first thing I learned is that you need to have a large number of animal units to divide the total cost per year into more head. And that gives you a lower cost per animal per year. And that's what gives you profitability. So today we will talk about how to have more animals in your ranch in good body condition without extra inputs. When we start to implement the process of total grazing in your land, you may need, for better results, to use adapted genetics with correct selection guidelines. Then, what should we do? Only total grazing? Or maybe at the same time implement adapted genetics with correct selection guidelines? Well, the good news is that this doesn't need to be complicated. In fact, I want you to consider how these two big subjects impact or can impact your cattle business. You will come out of this Facebook Live with a decision. Will you implement total grazing and use adapted genetics correct selection guidelines? Or will you only do total grazing? Or maybe a little of both? I'm going to say it upfront. To achieve the best results in our ranches or farms, it is important to increase our grass production using low cost biological methods, following nature's ways. Increase our harvest efficiency to get more cow days per grazing. This means a cow day is the quantity of forage that a cow needs to harvest in a day to be fully satisfied. And we need to do it with cattle that are efficient converting your grass to saleable products. It is my experience that cattle with better nutritional adaptation can harvest more cow days per acre per grazing. This is very important because it's the way we measure our land productivity. Well, there it is. I said it. I firmly believe that these two big factors, total grazing and adapted genetics correct selection guidelines, can help you much more if implemented together in your business. I have seen this in different environments in my clients' ranches and farms. Now, each one of us implements at its own pace or speed, and this is very important, as the most important environment to consider is the one between the two ears of the owner. I have seen ranches and farms where they gradually start the total grazing process and achieve good results from the start. Like other things in life, success is higher when it's totally implemented, but we start as we can. With this, I mean we can start getting good results when we start to implement in stages. The same happens with the genetic selection, where if we start to correctly select our bulls, we will get improvement from the very first calf born out of those bulls. Improvement and progress can be observed. What will we cover today? Today we're going to talk about how total grazing helps you and your land, a few examples of what cattlemen have achieved with total grazing and adapted genetics with correct selection guidelines, and after this, I want you to identify what can help you best in your own business. At the end of this episode, you will have a clear idea of the structure you need in terms of implementing a business that is constantly improving. This is important. We want our ranch or farm to be constantly improving in our soil, our grasses, our forages, and our cattle. We do not need much research to know that doing total grazing, which includes non-selective grazing, needs a better animal type in respect to genetics and, most importantly, selection guidelines used to select your bulls and replacements. Anyway, after years of being a successful cattleman, I have seen my students and others structure their ranches in different ways. I will always recommend doing both things at the same time as they complement each other. But first, I want to say total grazing helps you as it allows higher productivity per acre by improving harvest efficiency. Humus creation, stocking rate, which is the number of animals you can carry at low cost per, well, ideally at low cost per acre, and profitability without using high cost inputs and chemicals. Why I do not like to use chemicals? Because they are expensive and because they will lower my mid and future forage production by inhibiting soil life. That's why I prefer to do it the natural way. Profits, so important. We need profits. Now, can you do total grazing without adapted genetics? If it's desired, you can do total grazing without changing genetics or selection guidelines, but the results will not be as good due to a higher supplementation cost to obtain high real-life fertility at very high stocking rates with conventional genetics. Remember, very high stocking rates means a high number of productive animals maintained at a low cost. I have also seen good results where they do not do the total grazing the right way and they only rely on changing genetics and selection guidelines with good results. This can be done in certain environments, not in all, but it makes management easier and minimizes investment. A word of caution: this will take much longer to improve the land. So, what do you have more, time or money? I always ask my students, what do you have more, time or money? As things can be done with little money if enough time is available, or they can be done faster if enough money is available. Therefore, the speed to achieve a result will depend on your own decision. This is what total grazing will allow you. It will give you more leaves per square yard, ease of mind knowing and observing that your grass and land is improving every year. It will give you a grass reserve as stockpile for the difficult times of the year and will give your cattle better nutrition. But because there is a limit to how much we can improve forage production in a certain time frame, if we only use conventional genetics, there is a limit to the amount of money we can generate. This ceiling is very real, it's a barrier. I'm not saying it's not sustainable, but I want to make it clear. I believe you can achieve a very reasonable goal using only total grazing, or using only adapted genetic selection. What I mean is that when you use both at the same time, instead of each one by itself, there is no limit to the improvement to your profitability and to your land. Okay, now let's see what can using adapted genetics with correct selection guidelines give you. It will give you cattle that require less care to be productive, genetics that improve year after year by applying correct selection guidelines that do not contradict nature, better productivity per acre, better real-life fertility determined by genetics, better conversion of grass to saleable products, better harvest efficiency thanks to better nutritional adaptation, and finally, better profitability. You may ask, what is nutritional adaptation? Well, it's the ability of some animals under the same stage of growth and reproduction and age to maintain good body condition when the rest of the herd cannot keep up with them. And this gives them a great advantage that we want to harness to harvest more and more of what we produce so the regrowth can be much better. Another advantage is the impact of this. When you have adapted genetics and well-selected animals, you can start to sell genetics, and that multiplies your profitability. Have you seen how much a good bull brings and how much a steer brings? Well, when prospective buyers can observe fat animals in your land with good muscle mass, without supplementation, energy supplementation, at very high stocking rates, and with good fertility, it's more likely that they will want to buy bulls and heifers from you. When neighbors and other cattlemen to whom you start to sell bulls, semen, heifers become aware of the offspring they get and how easy they can be maintained in good body condition, they will want to buy more, and that is how you create a name with prestige. Prestige that many do not have, as they have selected their animals for maximum individual performance and not for good inherent body condition and real-life fertility. This will give you the advantage over the vast majority of feed stock producers. This is very important because I have experienced it and it really increased your profits. Now let's see the ways that total grazing and adapted genetic selection complement each other. In total grazing, we aim for high harvest efficiency of our grass so we can then create more leaf in relation to stems in the regrowth. This is so due to the stem inhibiting the formation of new leaves and because the saliva of the cow inoculates the grass plant with hormones, vitamins, and other growth factors we don't yet know the names of. But this action allows the regrowth to grow faster, up to 80% faster, and it's the main reason I always say, as the cow needs the grass needs the cow. When you implement at the same time total grazing with adapted genetic selection guidelines, you ensure that you will obtain the best results without contradicting nature. Now, let me tell you a little about my experience. I had the experience of having conventional cattle selected for maximum production per animal, and it wasn't nice, as those animals required extra care and inputs, plus they had low real-life fertility and maturity when the extra care and inputs were taken away. As input costs go up in price faster than what we produce, the time comes when it is not profitable to maintain that type of animal. Those were some tough years. But once I started to change genetics and selection guidelines, I started to improve my cattle and my profitability. Now, let's start with the examples. I can give you my own examples, and I have done that so many times. But I think that seeing the results that other ranchers have achieved speaks more because it is more about their own mindset shift, their own hard work, pushing forward when things get difficult, and not allow for peer pressure to move them away from their goals. I am very proud of them because it takes courage. It is not easy, but it can be done, and they are proof. I want you to know that you can also do it. You can also get the results. This is why I shared their examples to give you confidence and try to open your mind to what you can achieve. So let's start. First example is from Ryan Herman. How I like to talk about this picture. I think it was excellent how he took it, showing his neighbor in the background making hay all summer to feed it all winter. And here is Ryan with his total grazing, having peace of mind and keeping costs so low, in addition to improving his forage and his land. I mean, just look at that. Like they say, pictures speak louder than words. And for those of you who are here live, or for those of you who are watching the recording and you don't know yet about what Ryan has achieved, let me tell you. He farms in the Iowa-Minnesota border. He was doing rotational selective grazing, and after 12 years, he took another soil sample to see how much organic matter had gone up. He was doing rotational selective grazing. To his surprise, it did not go up and was the same level in organic matter as his neighbor who had been doing conventional set stocking. He was very displeased with this and started implementing the total grazing program. Now he has lowered his winter hay feeding costs by using stockpile forage for longer and has better forages with more diversity. His costs have gone down and he's happier observing how his land is improving. Next step for him, and he's already in on it, is to keep improving his genetics as he started with conventional genetics as most of us did. Second example is Tyler Waddington in Washington State. He's doing very well. He started to implement total grazing and adapted genetics, and he's getting faster results in terms of higher stocking rates and better genetics that will keep improving his herd and his land in value. In Mexico, there is also a ranch that doubled the stocking rate by the second year of applying both these principles, and their thinking was, if we do this, we can have the same results as if we bought another ranch, plus the lower cost in management and labor. Now they are reaping the benefits of their efforts. On my family ranch in the hot tropics, they are doing the adapted genetic selection and the total grazing as adapted to their environment. Results are evident with over double the stocking rate and much less problems with animal health. Besides having cattle with good nutritional adaptation, heat or cold resistance, parasite and disease resistant, docile cattle, fertile, reduce problems, and it's easier having a larger number of productive animals in the farm or ranch with good body condition. Isn't that what we want? More animals in good body condition, productive without extra inputs, that are not only more efficient in converting forage into saleable products, but can also help in conditioning grass to produce more and higher quality forage. And you can achieve this too. You can kickstart your selection by downloading this free PDF where I cover what you need to focus on to select as nature does so that you can start to implement both total grazing and adapted genetics improvements. Just go to www.untitled rwranching.com/free guide. With this guide, you will be able to maintain good body condition even under higher stocking rates, increase female fertility, create a drought reserve, maintain good body condition in your herd year round, which is very important. My motto is fat cows, fat cows, fat cows. And you will read what nature is telling you. Okay, now ready for your questions. See you next week, same time, same place. And here I go. Okay, hello. This is to download the free PDF. There it is. And I will be happy to answer your question. Let me go and see which ones. Okay. If you already have some. It says a Top Cut 8888. Jim, can you do another tour of the ranch in Florida? Yes, that's in my plans. Yes, I would love to do that because that's a great example of what can be achieved by applying both these principles at the same time. We have regenerated the land there with adapted cattle, with the correct selection guidelines, and we went from 1% organic matter in the sandy soil to 3.18% organic matter in the sandy soil in 6 years. Plus, the carrying capacity is almost 4 times higher. So I would love to do that. Now, Missouri. Yes, hello. 21st Century Homestead in Missouri. Martin Gomez, can you take away the white bar at the bottom of the screen? Which white bar would that be? Well, okay, I will try. We have Dexters. What's your thought on the breed? I love Dexters. They are shorter, and I would like them to be thicker. And I have been working, well, not me, but I have been hearing from work they've been doing at the Tennessee University. A man called Brown there has bought Mashona bulls from us and is doing crossbreds with Dexter to create a better animal for the homesteader. Yes, very nice. Martin Gomez says, very good. Oh, is the notice saying we're about to start? Yeah, sorry, I took it off. Oh, maybe not. Okay, my mistake. 21st Century says, how many inches should be left after cows have grazed? It would be great that we could adjust the cattle like a mower to graze down to so many inches, but it's not possible. That's why we do non-selective grazing most of the year in the total grazing program. Because since you cannot adjust the grazing height perfectly, because they will take down to the ground the best or more palatable species and leave untouched the others, it's better to take everything down. Then we not only get a longer rest period after that, because it takes longer to finish it all, but we do it in small breaks through the day, so the cattle do not refuse or reject the grass. And then we get much better results in a longer rest period. And what do the most desirable species require? A longer rest period, not to be taken down to the ground. And by doing selective grazing, coming back sooner and take them down to the ground again, and that will create a shift in your better species composition to undesirables. So that's one of the reasons we don't want to do that. So don't worry about how. Okay, I'm going to tell you in inches. It's normally between 1 to 3 inches because we want to harvest up to from 80 to 90% of what is there. And this will give you a much longer rest period than if you only harvested 1/3. You get it? Okay. Okay, here is a question, but it's long. Oh, okay, nothing to do. This is not about what we're talking about. I would like, Martin Gomez, I would like you to explain your statement. It says selective grazing needs electric fencing to be effective. No, selective grazing can be done without fences because it's the same result as continuous or set stalking. You're welcome, as 21st Century says. Thank you. Great. Yeah, maybe you meant non-selective grazing. And most of the time, yes, you need that because the cows will act like a kid when you give them candy on one hand or ice cream and broccoli on the other hand. And you tell them, first eat your broccoli and then you can have your ice cream and I will come back in 2 hours. What will happen? Well, the kid will take all the ice cream and you will find the broccoli in the garbage can. The same happens with cows. They have a sweet tooth. They love it. I will be happy to answer more questions if you have them. Well, why do I do this? Why do I do them at the same time? Because when I have adapted genetics with high nutritional adaptation, I can harvest from 30 to 40% more cow days per acre. The cow days harvested per acre per year will determine the stocking rate or the numbers of productive animals you can carry in your farm or ranch per year. And that, my friends, determines profitability. There is no other thing as important in determining profitability than stocking rate, the number of productive animals you can maintain per ranch or farm at a low cost. I've added these last words, low cost and productive animals. Okay, here is a question by Joan Kerhovas. Hello, Jaime. What about selection multi-sire jumbos with 15-month heifers for 21 days, and keep only pregnant heifers? Depending on environment, that's a very good idea. If you are fully stocked and you want to identify your best females, that's a good way to find out. And I always do multi-sire breeding, and I explain it in the online course of adapted genetics. I always do multi-sire breeding in a very short breeding season, but I use 45 days. I don't use 21 days because we are in the subtropics and fertility is harder to get a high real life fertility. As you know, fertility out in the world is determined by two factors: good body condition and good hormone balance. And both of these are heritable and we can select for those. So that's what I do. And it's explained how we select at birth, both, most important. At birth, at 6 months, at yearling, at 12 months, at 15 months, we use them to breed cows. And then at 27 months and again at 38 months. So that's a good situation you talk about there. Thank you, John. Martin Gomez says, your adapted genetics will mean sourcing from both breeders with the desired traits. Easier said than done, especially in our case in the Philippines. Oh, no, I don't mean you go out and buy your bull from someone else. The best way is to produce your own bulls from your best females that you need to identify. Once you identify your best females and your best bulls, you can mate them and produce your own bulls. If you need to bring from somewhere else external genetics because it's not in your area and you want it to improve faster, you can use AI with semen in your best females to produce your own bulls. And that's what I suggest for you. Now, Randy Favis. What is the best way of bringing back grass after trees have started to replace it? Historically, this area has been grassland with few trees. Trees started growing when we stopped burning. Okay. You know the story of how this happened. When a long time ago, we had a larger animals that would keep the savanna type of grassland with not too many trees, so it didn't become a forest. Then men came, and I mean the natives came and killed those big mammals that kept the savanna open, killed them off, wiped them off, extinguished them, and then they started to burn. So it wouldn't grow back into a forest, because in a forest there are not many prey to hunt, not many bison or deer or sheep or whatever. So they started to burn, and that's what we saw in history, that everything was maintained by burning. This doesn't mean that's the best way. There is a better way, and it's explained in the total grazing maximizer course, but I can tell you this now. By applying high animal impact, you will maintain your actual cover of trees, and so it doesn't get closer between the trees. You can also use some genetics that are better at browsing to keep the trees contained, and you could also use goats. Another option is to use heavy machinery in lieu of those big mammals that we don't have anymore, mammoths and mastodons, to clear up and leave enough trees, maybe 30% of the area in trees, scattered, and then maintain it that way with the correct use of your livestock. I think that's the best advice I can give you. We're going to be replanting a field. Which grass do you recommend? I would like to plant native grass, such a blue stem grama. Yes, depending on your location, if you're in Missouri, a big blue stem will be my choice there, along with switchgrass, Indian grass, and legumes. Why? Because these are warm season perennials that are the top 4 of the big and tall prairie original grasslands. So those will be great for you. I assume you already have others, like the legumes from Europe and the tall fescue, and they do complement each other very well. So that's what I would recommend. Martin Gomez, I have a previous question, Jaime, which was not answered regarding wormers and vaccines. Please. I didn't see that question. Let me find out. Maybe I missed it. I don't see it, Martin. Oh, yeah. Does your adapted cattle mean no wormers and vaccines? Well, it means no wormers, but it also means vaccines. Depending on the diseases you have, and if you have a closed herd or not, you will need to use vaccines. I suggest you use the killed virus vaccines and not the modified live virus. But in terms of dewormer, we do not ever deworm, only the few animals that require it, and then we get rid of them once they get well. Why? Because we want to breed parasite-resistant animals and not dewormer-resistant parasites. That's a good question. What about tropical Bos taurus versus Bos indicus in subtropics? Well, my point of view is that the tropical Bos taurus is a much better genetics than the Bos indicus. There are some Bos indicus, especially from Africa, that are good in terms of fertility and do not carry the aberrant chromosome that creates infertility or lower fertility after the F1. They can do F2, F3, and F4. So in that case, I much suggest you use African Bos taurus. The Criollo Bos taurus from the tropics are good because they have African genes in them. This I have researched by taking DNA samples. So I would suggest that you use the ones that have the highest amount or percentage of African genes in them. And there are some breeds that still have very high African genes in them. Normally, the Criollo ones have from 30 to 40 maybe, and the African breeds have up to 86%. So in the first cross, you get the minimum required, which is 25 to 30% in the composite. Oh, thank you. Yeah, John, that's very interesting, and it's something I am passionate about because I am in the hot tropics. Now, the subtropics are much easier than the hot sea level tropics, so I have worked in both. I have raised cattle and selected them in both environments, and I can tell you, we need the slick gene in the lowland tropics. Very important. Now, here is a question by David Conlander. Do you graze the replacement heifers with the cowherd? I prefer not to. I really prefer to have my replacement heifers in a leader-follower situation where we use a modified system so they get better nutrition and we can get them to join in weight faster. We have a goal of breeding them at 15 months of age, so they need to reach at least 60% of their mature weight by then. So depending, if you are on cool season grasses, yes, they are with the herd or in their own rotation, better, because we need to do a non-selective grazing or they will get scours. But in warm season perennial grasses, C4, we can do the modified leader-follower system with success. Yeah, thank you. I really would like you all to download this free guide, and then you can see what I am talking about. It's very graphic, and it's very easy to understand. And when you see a good bull, you will know what I'm talking about. It's very easy to detect the best bull in a group of bulls once you get close to them. And women are much better than us in doing this. So go ahead and download it. You will like it. Okay, I would like questions. I love questions. It brings more ideas to my head. Then I can relate better with you. Okay, here it is. Thank you. Joan Kerhouse. Can we practice crossbred European Limousin on Belmont Redbred tropical composite with 50% African breed, Afrikaner in thick land? I wouldn't do it because the Afrikaner has been, how can I say it, diluted by modern selection criteria, where there are some good herds, I know. Maybe you are in South Africa and they have some good breeds, herds, I'm sorry, but some are not. And we want resistance. Now the Belmont Red has a 50% African breed, Afrikaner, which is not very high, will not be very high in African genes if selected in the wrong way. By that I mean expected progeny difference. I believe you call it different over there, but it's the same. They select for maximum growth, maximum winning weights, maximum milk, and they forget about hormone balance and inherent body condition. And that's a big mistake. And then you cross them with the Limousin, which will have none of the African genes, and that will give you a very low percentage of African genes, which is needed to provide the passive immune response to pyroplasmosis and other tick-borne diseases you have in Africa. I learned this the hard way, and that's why I started using a tropical milking criollo that is around 27 to 32% African genes. So when I crossed those with other breeds that did not have African genes, the resulting animal had too low African genes, and they still succumbed, but less, to pyroplasmosis. Now I am infusing Mashona blood, which is 86% African genes, and I am getting much better results. But you still need to expose your animals when they are young, before they are 6 months old, to a constant challenge of ticks with pyroplasmosis and your diseases, so they can develop the passive immune response. Yes. The same with parasites to everyone. If you have parasites, you blanket treat all your cattle with dewormer, you will ensure that the immune system is depressed, and that will not allow. Oh, in New Caledonia. Okay, well, nice to know. That's a very nice, very tropical, and yes, you must have pyroplasmosis. I I am the master in pyroplasmosis, having lost over 50 cows in one summer to it. So I know a lot about pyroplasmosis and how to breathe your way out of it. You cannot combat it with chemicals because you will kill your dung beetle population and depress the immune system of your cows. That's the only way. Genetics. Nice to know you. Okay, from Century Homestead. What height do you want stockpile winter grazing ideally? I want the winter grazing to be as high as possible, my stockpile as high and thick as possible, so I can get more cow days out of it. So sometimes it will be 1 foot, sometimes it will be 3 feet, depends on your environment. I don't understand your question, John. Only ticks, but not pyroplasmosis? No, I mean pyroplasmosis. Pyroplasmosis is transmitted by a certain tick, an amblyoma, and by a fly that is like the horsefly, by the horsefly, not by hornflies. So when you have a lot of ticks of that particular variety, you're going to have pyroplasmosis if your area has pyroplasmosis. For example, in Mexico, we have it in a big way, ticks and pyroplasmosis. But you cross the border, you drive 6 hours north, and you cross the border into the United States, and there are ticks, but not that particular variety of tick that transmits pyroplasmosis. So they do not have pyroplasmosis. Here in the States, they only have anaplasmosis, which is pretty easy to solve. Oh, we haven't pyroplasmosis in our land. That's great. That's all good news. So what type of tick-borne disease do you have? Because I didn't know you were in New Caledonia. I thought you were in South Africa, and there they do have it. So I don't know if you have red water or any other tick-borne disease. If you don't, then you're lucky and you don't have to worry about that much. Yeah. But you still have to worry about the high heat index, which may become worse as the years go by, and you will have or you will need the nutritional adaptation because your forages will produce more if you graze them at a later maturity than if you graze them earlier. Wow, only tick attacks which can kill cow. I've never seen that, but only on very unadapted breeds. Then they will kill a cow. I come from a tropical environment at sea level where ticks are prevalent. And I have worked all the way from Manitoba, Canada, with clients to Paraguay, and in Europe and in South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand, but never in New Caledonia. So it would be very interesting to know more about it. If they kill the cow, that means she must be woolly or have too much hair. You need the slick gene for that not to happen. Let me tell you, in Florida, we have a lot of ticks, but we do never spray or dip our cattle. Never, ever. And the ticks get on the cow and they just fall off and cease to be a problem. Because we have adapted genetics, the Machona cattle that I told you about. Now, if you saw the first picture, the Machona cattle, that's a bull that I raised and bred. And so we are improving the Machona to be more muscle and better beef to bone ratio. Kurt Lange from hello, my herd is Angus and I have 99 to 100% pregnant each year in Quebec. Are there any better breeds than this for my area? Thanks, Jim. Well, it's hard to beat 100% success in breeding cattle. But the question is, at what stocking rate? Because it's easy to have a very high breeding percentage or breedback if you have a low stocking rate, but it's not as easy if you have a very high stocking rate. And what determines profitability is not the fertility of your cows, but the number of pounds or kilos, in your case, of weaned calf you sell per acre or hectare per year. That's what determines profitability. So I would prefer to have double the stocking rate and get 85% pregnancy rates, because that means that my profits will double. And I want my profits to double and triple. Thank you. Randy Davis. Our area has liver fluke infestation, which has the snail as the intermediate host. Is it possible to breed for fluke resistance similar to worm resistance? Absolutely yes. In north central Florida, where we did that regenerating the land with Machona cattle, we have a very large liver fluke infestation. And we never ever apply dewormers, only the animals that really require it. So I have treated like one animal per year, and then we discard that animal after we fix it with dewormer. I don't want it to die. I am not so cruel like nature does. Nature will allow it to die and be killed by other animals, and that's it. We do not need to do that. We just don't want to breed from those animals that require assistance. And then we get a herd that can thrive even under a high liver fluke infestation. And we are proof, we have it. And we sell bulls from that herd. Okay, Randy Favis. We are in the Philippines, Masbate province to be exact. Very nice. We are in north central Florida with a subtropical environment. It gets very hot in the summer with high humidity, so it's a high heat index, and we have loss of liver flukes because we get up to 1,200 millimeters of rainfall per year, 53 to 55 inches of rainfall, and it's hot. Johan Kerhovas. Kill European breed only. Yes, the ticks. I understand that. What about supplement and stockpile, mineral, protein, energy? Well, if you have adapted genetics with the correct guidelines of selection, all you need to provide to your cattle, even on stockpile forage, is enough protein so they can digest the fiber, the microorganisms in the rumen, and the minerals that are lacking in your forage and water, so your cattle can express their potential. But do not provide energy supplements, because that will go against what you're trying to achieve. You're trying to achieve an animal that can do it all on grass. We only provide the minerals that are lacking at the start, and once your humus increases, the fertility of your soil, the minerals elements will be available in an available form to your cattle, and you will still need to provide protein in the stockpile season when you're using it, when it's dry, but it will be lower and lower as your soil improves and your species diversity improves. Melanie Burkhardt, watching from Kentucky. Nice. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. One of my best cows is a little what? Sick? I hope not. You can put your comment. And as I told you, I really like to answer questions. Okay, Joan Kerhovas. What about soil pH for mineral in forage? Soil pH has been overrated. If there is enough pH so your grass grows well and you have enough soil humus, pH becomes buffered by the soil humus. But if your pH is very low and you want to give it a head start or a kickstart faster, you can add lime to it. So that's why I said, when my clients tell me they want to achieve something, I always ask them, what do you have the most, money or time? Because if you have time, you can increase your soil humus and not require the liming. Or if you have money and you want to do it faster, you can apply the lime and get results faster. Just don't apply more than 1 ton per hectare. That will be enough. Melanie Burkhardt. One of my best cows is a little ornery. Would you keep heifers out of her? She wants to be mounted or she wants to mount? Because cows, can get bullish. That means that they cease to cycle and they start to look like a bull. Look at her from the side and see if she's heavier towards the front or towards the rear. If she's getting bullish, then get rid of her and she's open. But if it's a cystic ovary, then that's a different story and you need a vet to treat her. I hope this answered your questions, Melanie. Patrick Terry, how do you deal with too much protein in the forage? Oh, that's a good question. On cool season grasses and forages, we usually have an excess of protein, and we explain that it's better to allow it to mature more, so the fiber content goes up, the protein content goes down, and do a non-selective grazing so your cows do not get scours. Mechanical scours caused by too little fiber in the forage and too much protein in relation to available energy. So that's what I would suggest. If you cannot do that, then provide them with low protein straw, like oat straw or barley straw, early in the morning before grazing. Martin Gomez from Philippines. Phosphorus is very limiting in our soils. Would you recommend mineral supplementation? Yes, I would recommend mineral supplementation. And the phosphorus that is actually in your soil but not available will become available as your soil mycorrhiza increases. Mycorrhiza is a fungus bacteria that makes a symbiotic association with the roots of your plants. And they will make that phosphorus available for your plants. So your soil phosphorus content will increase, not because it came from somewhere else, but because it was made available from your own soil. And that's very, very nice to get. Oh, Melanie Burkhardt, spirited cow. Well, I do not want cows that are harming other cattle or people. So if she's not nice around other cattle, it might be because she has horns. If it's that, it's easy. You just dehorn her, and that takes care of it. And if she continues to be like that, then it might be good sense to get rid of her because as I said, one of my main selection guidelines is docility. We want docile cattle that are a pleasure to work with and not cattle that want to kill us whenever they see us. That's interesting because What do you want? Do you want a happy life or do you want to be struggling all the time? Do you want to have harmony in your farm, in your life, in your grasslands, in your soil, in your cattle? That's what I want. We all want harmony. In nature, there is harmony. And that's how we should work also in harmony. So we want to create real wealth for us, our people, our families, and our community. So we want to have harmony. John Kirchhoff, what do you think about basalt application to correct soil pH and mineral available in forage? I have tried that, but on very high cation exchange capacity soils in my farm, which has a 56%, which is excessive, and I didn't get any result. The only result I got was from increasing organic matter and, most importantly, humus. As we know, humus is the stable fraction of organic matter that cannot be degraded further by the action of microorganisms and lasts over 100 years in your soil. So I would do some trials with the basalt application. It needs to be very finely ground for it to have any effect. There are some people that say that it works. I have not gotten the results, so I would suggest you do some trials and then observe. If it helps and it pencils out, gives you money, then go ahead and do it. Yes, that's a good. What can you say about FTAI for herd improvement? I say this, if you have a good vet that can do a good protocol and will give you at least 60% pregnancy rate using set time AI, I would do that. But only in my best females after you learn how to identify them, and only with semen from bulls that are the best to complement those cows. Not any semen that is sold out there is good. Many times you have better females than the semen you can get for them. So it's very important you learn these basics. Ryan Bandeker, I am being overtaken by ragweed. Besides mowing or spraying, what are some other ways of dealing with the ragweed? I have so much that it is shading out the native range. Well, the way we do it is we graze it at a younger stage in a non-selective way to take care of it and also to provide food to our cattle. For this, you need nutritional adaptation. If you use pampered genetics that were bred for higher production per animals by feeding them grains, they will not be able to do it. So you better have adapted genetics, and then you can convert that problem into a resource, feed for your cattle. That's my experience. We even do a lot of browsing with our cattle, and they can do it, and we can take care a lot of mowing with adapted cattle. Sometimes, like now, being so late in the year, it's better to mow. You can mow high to not kill your grass that is under it, and you will still get rid of the ragweed producing seed, which is a good thing to do. I hope this answered your question, Ryan. Okay, well, if there is no other question, I will say thank you very much for being here with me today, and I hope you download the free guide, and most importantly, that you have enjoyed this and it helps you, in even if it's in a small way. I want you to get some good out of it. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of the week. Goodbye.